Great. So we have Jazz with us today. Did I mess it up again?
No, you got it right. It's jazz.
Okay. Who says miracles don't happen? But Jazz is just a cool cat, man. Jazz is like, he's one of those people you look at and you say, how can someone do 17 things? Like, you're going to get to know him a bit today, and you're going to get thrown away by the polarity of his experience, wisdom, track record, background, all the things. If this is not a good teaser, I don't know what is. So first and foremost, thank you for coming. Happy to have you, brother.
No, thank you. Thank you. I know we really haven't had much one-on-ones, but I think this is a good setting and I'm really excited to be here.
Amazing. So why don't we start from the top, right? Like tell our listeners a little bit about your background for some context, like a
Sure.
quick overview, growing up, just things like that.
Sure. No, that's great. I think the way I grew up is kind of leads exactly to where I'm at today. So I think that's great. I grew up in uh, I like to say this, my and I don't want to get too much into it, but I want to start by saying as I live in the US, I think the US is the best country in the world. My parents immigrated here. They had nothing, and the way that they were able to stand on their feet financially was through small business ownership. It's just kind of an
Mm,
immigrant thing, right? Like working for yourself, doing the whole thing. And that's where everything kind of starts. And that's where my life's taken me. So I wanted to kind of start by saying that, I love this place. This is where, you work hard, you can make things happen. My parents had nothing. They came here, they went through small business. Specifically, around when I was born, they got into their first gas station. And then since then we've continuously been in that industry. So now fast forward 30 years, I grew up in that industry. I know what it takes. Um, you know, as much as it's part of real estate, because we're owning commercial real estate when you buy the gas station, I like to say I'm more of on the business side of things, the business ownership side of things. So that's where I get my hands dirty, and a lot of my practical knowledge comes from the gas station industry, and then more recently, we got into farming as well. So I'm in this little pocket in California, right in central. I'm between LA and SF. I'm right in the middle, and we're really big in ag here. So we got into almond orchards as well, and I'll be going right back to the farm right after this podcast. So um, that's
amazing.
that's the practical side. The technical side, I also worked after going college and doing that whole thing, I got a job as an SBA loan underwriter. That I learned all the technical side of things. I learned how to read financial statements. I learned how to underwrite. I learned what banks look for when it comes to lending. I learned what makes a good deal, and what makes a bad deal when it comes on the business side. Because SBA is all business. It's not We're not doing multifamily. We're not doing single family. It's all business only. So you kind of pair that practical side of me growing up working in businesses, and then the technical side of me kind of knowing how to work in the spreadsheets and doing all the paperwork and stuff.
Yeah. What did that role teach you about evaluating business?
It taught me a lot. So I'll say this, like I had to be able to underwrite anything and everything. So working in a bank, we didn't have, and I'll say this, my bank specifically, so maybe I was just kind of lucky. We didn't have a specific vertical. So some banks speak to, they'll only do RV park lending. They'll only do hotel lending. They'll only do this. My bank was a little different. We're like a traditional SBA lender where we were open minded and we would take in anything. So now think of me, it's like one minute I have a movie theater, the next minute I have a liquor store, then I
Oh
have a
my
hotel, then I have a gas station, then
God.
I have an RV park. So I had a lot of repetitions. I can't tell you how much I learned, because it was like, as an underwriter's job, it's my job to assess the business to make sure it's worth our customers' deposits, right? It's our customers' deposits that are going into this loan. And I had to make sure it's like the business was worth it. The operator was a good operator, all the credit stuff worked out, and then obviously all the SBA eligibility stuff. But like the real meat and potatoes is like, does the business earn what they that's been told? So we primarily did business acquisition. So I really enjoyed it. I loved it because every time a new customer came in, I felt like it was my parents going into their first business. I just
Yeah,
enjoyed
wow, I love it.
genuinely, genuinely enjoyed helping people get into small business ownership. I think it's the greatest thing. I mean, honestly, there's very
That's
few
what I
things where
found based on.
one
I'm
single
sorry,
transaction can change your life, and you know
100%.
that.
But what do most people, first time business buyers, misunderstand about SBA financing, in your opinion?
I think it's not Shark Tank. You don't go in and pitch, right? It's you don't go in and pitch a deal. You do it to a certain extent, but
Love it. It
at
doesn't hold
when it
water. The number speaks volume.
it's
Right,
the
brother?
numbers. It's the numbers. Everything goes back to the numbers. Look, if your DSCR is has enough spread, you can mitigate all the weaknesses. But the thing is, if your DSCR is you're running really thin, all
Yeah,
those weaknesses that start popping up have so much. It's a lot of
yeah,
heavy weight there, right? So
yeah. That's
it
solid.
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
turnaround businesses are hard unless it's someone like you who could do it, right? But if you're brand new to business ownership, SBA is still a bank, right? And there's a reason why we like creative finance and try to avoid the SBA headache. But sometimes you still have to deal with it, and it's paper. You got to know the paperwork and the numbers, and that's what really gets you through the SBA process.
yeah. How did underwriting change how you personally look at an opportunity? So it's almost like I'm asking questions from not you, an experienced, SBA lender, because our listeners are not, right? So
Hmm.
I'm trying to kind of drive value through your, wisdom in the field to our listeners.
Okay. No, I like that. I think that working on the SBA side, my primary framework, and I think this is good for a lot of listeners, is always think in terms of DSCR. Always think in terms of DSCR. So whether you're doing a DSCR lending or not. So DSCR is a very simple formula and anybody can Google it. It's basically your earnings over how much debt you have. And you want to make sure you have more earnings to how much debt you have. And the bigger that number gets, the more confident you should feel. So whether you're going through a DSCR lender, whether you're going through an SBA, no matter what you're doing, my mentors in the banking world, what they taught me is like you can sit there and do cash on cash return and you can sit there and do all this and this, but they said the DSCR is such a big valuable
Mm, love it.
number because it tells you the strength of the overall deal in relation to the debt that you're throwing on it. So I don't know, like if I can spend a 6-week lecture telling you how to underwrite, but I'll kind of narrow it down. If you got to boil it down to something, know how much the business earns, know how much debt you're about to throw on it, and if you know that relationship, like you can get very
Yeah,
far.
yeah. So you're talking about like the like earnings before before the expenses are after. This is for our listeners.
Sure, yeah.
Just giving the SCR rules, like what exactly?
Mhm.
Because me and you, we know it, but we're not here for me
Sure.
and you. Yeah.
Yeah, earning meaning your bottom line before debt. So how much money you're
After
going
all
to take home?
expenses.
Yeah. So how much money you're going to take home? So you got your money that comes in, all your expenses paid for, and then you'll put that in relation to the debt afterwards. So yeah, when I say earnings, I do mean before debt, but after expenses.
Okay. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. That's something I'm sure that our listeners took with them,
For sure.
uh, for sure. So that's fascinating. So you focus on helping first-time business owners navigate underwriting and SBA strategies. What drew you to the niche is basically your background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Exactly.
when you're, yeah, which which stands for commitment. Like this is so powerful because I always tell people, if you're lucky enough to actually like your job and have purpose in what you're doing, it shows, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa, right? Like if you don't, it also shows. And we both know those type of people, right? So I love it. I think it's really really good. I'm also an immigrant, no surprise there, and I think I can relate to a lot of things that you're saying. But how do you feel that supporting clients also helps you build your own acquisition network?
Oh my God, it's a cheat code. Like and I'm so honest with people when somebody sits across the desk from me and I'm possibly gonna underwrite their deal. I go, it's a cheat code. You're gonna pay me to look through your deal, and now I've learned every deal I go through makes me a stronger underwriter. Every deal I go through makes my brain work, and every situation is different. Now you look at me after I've somebody asked me the other week, like, how many deals have you done? I said, if I had to put it in terms of numbers, like dollars, probably $200 million worth, if not more, overall through my
Yeah,
W-2 and me helping other people. It helps me tremendously. I've never, I started underwriting RV parks before I ever owned one. That's a business too. So now that I've done so many repetitions and spoken to so many smart people, and some of my clients have already owned, right, the Passans and all these other people that I work with, my network has just like again, I don't know how else to say it. I feel like there was a cheat code. I tell you, like I don't know how else to say it. Like the work I do is helping me so much in
I
my own
agree with
acquisition journey, in my network, and speaking to people, and I help them and they help me. So it's like a good trade off. I'm just in general just networking with a lot of cool people and they're very ambitious and trying to do cool things.
Yeah, yeah. Aren't we lucky SOBs? I feel the same thing
Oh,
some days, like the same exact things that you're feeling in a lot of the days that I work as
mhm.
well. What type of businesses, to our listeners, are you most interested in acquiring yourself?
Acquiring. Okay,
Mhm.
so we just family just closed two gas stations this month. So we did
You got
we
something with gas stations, bro.
I
Okay.
know I and I'll tell you this, they are not passive, they're headaches. And I think my point to that is I think we're slowing down a little bit. We just did two major ones. I'm not sitting there looking for another two, another one, right? So I think that portfolio it's okay. I think we'll maintain that. So now the eyes got to shift because we're always looking. There's always opportunities out there, and I really do like RV parks right now, and I know a lot of people do as well. Um, I like business with real estate. You're in hotels as well. I mean, there's business with real estate. You get the all the business benefits, but you get the appreciations and depreciations as well as real estate. So gas stations fits that mold. Our farming fits that mold. RV parks fits that mold. It's you're buying the real estate along with operating the business on top of it. So, I that's kind of where my mind and my eyes are going to start to shift focus with. You ask me in 6 months from now, what am I doing? There's a chance I might not like it. So this is early stages for me where I'm shifting my focus over to that because we have, I think, I don't want to keep expanding into gas stations. I want to kind of diversify a little bit moving forward.
Yeah. Let's bust a myth right now about gas stations, okay?
Okay.
Because like I don't think there's a better person to ask, for me at least, to ask than you. I mean, you know, you got petroleum in your veins at this point,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Um, is it true what they say that there's no profit in the actual gasoline sale, but it's the gasoline that draws the foot traffic to sell the groceries and other things is where you actually making the money? Is that a truth or not?
It's half truth. Um, so there is not the margin. It's a game of margin. So ideal situation.
Hmm.
Yes, you're not making that much margin on your gas sales. That's 100% true. You don't make that much money. If you go I live in California. It's 450 a gallon here. It's not like the gas station owner behind that's making a dollar, $2 per that. They're making pennies or a nickel
Right,
maybe at
right,
most.
right,
So so low margin. So there is
right.
profit in the gas. I want to say that. There's profit in the gas, but there's not that much profit in the
But
gas.
you can live off of the selling gas, is what I'm trying to say.
So then exactly what you said. You bring them into your store and then you
Yep,
sell the thing that has 30, 40% margin.
Yeah.
But in an ideal world, even though your margin's so slim on gas, you want to do so much gas volume that you still make a decent profit at the end of the year on the gas as well as the store. That's an ideal gas station.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel I can talk to you about this for an hour because, I had dollars in discount stores, started with one all the way up to five, and then I exited and
Okay.
did the same exact thing. We had anchor products, right? Like
Yep.
gas is an anchor product that
Yep.
we didn't make
Yep.
any money. But then again, we make, 100%, 200%, 300% on some other items because we
Sure.
got closeouts from other stores and we just buy them by the boxes, right?
Exactly.
So dirt cheap, we got them. And so I totally get that. I was just curious about that because that was my understanding. I'm like, well, let me just ask organically.
No, it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty much true. Yeah. The gas is just to get you in there, to get you into the store.
Yeah, good stuff. So the biggest mistake first time buyers make, in your opinion?
What I tell people is, at least when I underwrite, look, there's so many things that you do. But my 80% of my time underwriting is just trying to figure out NOI, like earnings, like what we talked about in the beginning. Like what's the earning of the business?
Yeah.
If I spend 10 hours underwriting, 8 hours of that is just trying to figure out, okay, what does this business actually earn? And I'm not
Right.
going to go into technicals. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that new business owners gloss over NOI, and then whatever a broker tells you, whatever a seller tells you, whatever quick math that you did, whatever ChatGPT tells you when you upload the tax returns or whatever,
Yeah.
they will use the NOI improperly, like find a wrong NOI, and then base their entire structure based off this wrong NOI, wrong
Yeah.
earnings.
Yeah.
And that's not good. Like the process of trying to figure out earnings is very technical and tedious and boring, and it takes a long time and whatever. But I just feel like if you get that number correct, everything else falls in place because now you can structure, the debt you can put on it, everything.
Yeah.
But
That's
if
the
you
biggest.
overestimate that, it can be catastrophic.
100%, 100%, and that's why businesses, just to dovetail off of what you said, really need to have what's called clean books, but not necessarily like just recording things. Small businesses are so bad at it, and then they come and try to sell their business, and you can't really prove how much it's earning, right? Like that number to benchmark, not just the EBITDA, but also how much do you want for it? Because nobody's going to pay you X if you cannot prove it's worth X, right? So
Exactly.
a lot of them it's unsellable businesses at some point. They take a loss because they're not selling it for as much as they could had they made sure that everything is lined up with the numbers, documenting everything and everything like that. So I couldn't agree with you more. Bookkeeping. So what separates prepared buyers from emotional buyers, in your opinion?
Oh man, I speak on this a lot. Emotional buyers. I think emotional buyers are the hardest people I personally work with. They have made up their mind before they have even asked me to look at this and assess a deal. Emotional buyers are typically the ones that don't have a good pipeline. They found a deal. Now they poured all their effort and energy into that one deal.
Got
And
it.
then if I sit there, you sit there, an attorney sits there, a CPA sits there and says, hey, I don't think this deal is good for whatever reason. The mind of that person will justify around it. The emotional buyer is a hard one to deal with. And I think a prepared buyer has multiple deals in their pipeline. So they are not so emotionally attached to that one. If that one goes, there's an abundant amount of opportunity, we'll find another one.
Yeah, and I speak about that all the time, about the emotional buyers, they romanticize over, the transaction. They get caught up in the dreaming, in the one thing. And I always say, stay loyal to the numbers. And you beat the numbers hard enough, eventually they'll tell you what you're trying to hear, but they don't, you do spreadsheets, right? But what if this is not exactly here and they underestimate it, overestimate it, and then they make it work, and then you see it works.
Yeah, you can justify it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So education and discipline really is where I was going with this at the end of the day. So you're passionate about educating people on
I
underwriting.
love
That's
it.
that's evident. So what motivates that mission other than your background? And if you can also touch as you answer about some of the AI that you're using, AI
Sure.
tools that you're using, because as we all know now, everyone's like talking and trying to use AI.
Mhm.
Uh, I'll close my question with saying that I think it's, people don't use it also right, but maybe you can touch on that because some people just they don't have the experience and knowledge that you have and I have maybe, and they're leaning too heavily on AI,
Yeah.
which obviously cannot think. It just gives you right. So yeah, I'll
100%.
I'll, I'll, give, I'll give the mic to you. Go ahead.
Okay. One, what motivates me, there's one thing I didn't talk about earlier in my career. So when I worked in banking, this is my huge why. This is actually I should have started. We should start off the podcast with this, and that was my mistake. My why. There was a specific role that my chief credit officer made me do specifically on our SBA loan portfolio. And he did this because I had the practical knowledge, like I talked about in the beginning, and the technical knowledge. So if at any point in our loan portfolio, one of our clients that was already on the books stopped making their payments.
Hmm.
At
Hmm.
some point, it touches one of our other people in the bank, our servicers, who start calling them and ask questions, what's going on. But at some point in that process, I had to be the one that made the phone call. And when
Mm.
Jazz makes the phone call, that's not a good thing because I'm calling saying, what the hell went wrong with this business? You have $4 million in this loan still that's due. You haven't made payments for the last 3-4 months. Your house is pledged. You have a personal guarantee. There's big things that are going to happen if you don't start answering these questions. So that was my job. I had to be the bad guy at the bank that used to
Yeah.
make these phone calls. I hated it. It was the worst part of my job. When I
Wow.
make these phone calls, I think of somebody in my parents' shoes who made a
Yeah.
wrong step and now their house might be gone, their whatever. I hated that so bad. It was the worst thing in the world. This is a person like you and I who are ambitious and want to go do another project, and they don't realize at the time when they're acquiring that this project is going to be the project that could possibly take them down. And it's so sad. And it's so, at that time when you're acquiring, you're so, again, emotional. You're so hopefully optimistic. So you need to be optimistic as a business owner. You're all this type of stuff. And if only somebody in the beginning stages could have educated them and maybe
Mm.
it's the numbers, maybe it's something else, but somebody in the beginning was there to help them to assess the deal properly, where now that's what I want to do and help people in the beginning is to assess the deal properly so that that is not them. That's my biggest motivator. I don't want somebody to end up in a bad situation because I don't want them to lose their house. I don't want them to lose their life savings. I These are people who want to leave their W-2 and make a better living for their family, and I get it, and I want to do the same thing for myself and my
Yeah.
family, but that's my motivation. Now, the whole AI thing. Okay. I think AI right now is changing so fast. I think what happened a year from now and what's happening today and what's happening a year from today moving forward is going to be so different. But I will say right now, it is definitely something I'm using. It's definitely something I love. I'll share my secrets. I think Notebook LM, it's a Google product. I think it's one of the better ones from a consumer level. Look, I'm not a
For what?
coder. I can't go in there and do the open clause stuff. Some people in Owners Club can, and they're better at it than I am. But for somebody that any from listeners here that they can just jump on and start having underwriting, I think Gemini and Notebook LM are better than ChatGPT. They're better at numbers than ChatGPT starts assuming too much. I think it's really good. I think it can help you, and you don't need to spend 10 hours. You can do stuff in an hour. However, I still think it is essential to educate yourself on financials.
100%.
I Because you don't ChatGPT, the AIs, all this is going to give you a bunch of info, but can you take it in and understand it and understand your risk? And can
Yeah.
you understand where AI made an assumption? Because if you didn't manually do the calculation, I do the calculation manually. I know it's like, okay, well, I assumed that sales were going to jump by 10%. Maybe AI went in there and said sales is going to jump by 30%. And you didn't catch that because you're just seeing the end result.
Yeah.
So I think AI is really good in the like when you're filtering out deals, quick underwriting, quick back and forth. But if you're making a multi-million-dollar decision on
Yeah.
AI, I think that's a little scary. Um, but it's good at pre-filtering, and I think it's still essential to educate yourself on the financials. Know how to read numbers. Know what a good cap rate looks like. Know what a good DSCR looks like. What does that mean if it's 1.2? What does it mean if it's 2.1? Right? Like all these things. So I think, AI is great and it should help you with your workload, but it should not stop you from educating yourself.
I agree, and I couldn't say it better myself. Educate. So before I give you my 2 cents, not that you asked, but I do feel that you're hitting on something that is almost like an open nerve that I have, because I see how stupid, yes, I said stupid, people get with AI, and I say stupid for their own good, okay?
Hmm.
Because they're jeopardizing themselves, and I'm here to
Hmm.
say this out loud, okay? What other tools do you feel people would experience and some sort of knowledge, and if not, they should JV with one? Use what other tools you use other than, because it's crazy, you ask five different people, you get five different answers, right? Like
Yep.
some underwriters, they're like Perplexity, some, I don't know, Gemini, some Chat,
Hmm.
some, like you and Notebook LM. What other tools do you think are kind of solid? Because you obviously have an experience of a lot of underwritings under your belt.
Look, it's old. I'm old school. I think Excel is your best friend. I honestly like, the Notebook LM and Gemini are my favorite AI when it comes to underwriting. Okay, that's underwriting. And that's consumer level. When I say consumer, that's like you don't have to hire somebody to go create you a program on the back end that uses, the
Yeah,
open claw and all this cloud.
yeah,
I've worked with other people who have very sophisticated underwriting.
yeah,
Good for them. I just,
yeah.
I'm a little old school. I like to piece by piece, and so I stick to it. That those are the two comfortable ones. I feel Chat
Cool.
GPT is great for other stuff. So Notebook LM and Gemini is my favorite, I think. But Excel, just still learn Excel. Like still go back. I know we're not talking about AI anymore. I mean, this is the whole education piece. My favorite tool is Excel. Like you got to have your spreadsheets. You got to be able to do you have to be able to do your numbers. Um, it's yeah, I don't know. It's for sure. And I always say this too with underwriting. You got to know what you're feeding into whatever you're bridging to get to your underwriting. What if you're this person that wants to only use AI? I don't agree with you, but okay. If you want to use Excel and do manual stuff, I like that better. If you want to use a mix of both, that's fine. But here's one thing I actually want to also say is garbage in is garbage out. If you're feeding it garbage, you're no matter what sophisticated tool or manual tool, garbage out. So another thing with underwriting is really know your sources that you're feeding it. Like if you are you
Yep.
feeding it tax returns, P&Ls, mom and pop written pieces of paper of like this is what it's
Data from
doing and this
Chat.
is what it doesn't
Yeah,
do. So
yeah.
ChatGPT can't figure out if you're feeding it garbage or not. That is a
No,
human element.
that's the garbage. You're getting garbage from ChatGPT and you're putting it into your models. That's the
You're
garbage.
getting double garbage. So at that point, I don't know. Yeah. So you really need, again, it goes back to education. You got to educate yourself. You got to talk to people, and see how they do it. And it's, and then use AI to help your process. Use AI to speed up certain things, but it doesn't get away from not educating yourself at all. No.
Yeah, I agree. So, what are your portfolio vision? You talked about RV parks and expansions. You mentioned building your own portfolio and exploring RV parks.
Mhm.
So, what attracts you to that asset class, and how does underwriting, that class different than a traditional business, in your opinion?
Okay, that's a great question. I think what draws me to RV parks, mobile home parks, but really RV parks. It's One, I like the fact that you can play it two different ways. I've spoken to a few people, like you can go get a resort style. If so, here's another thing. There's so many different categories. I mean, like I say RV parks, you say RV parks. We could be looking at two very, very different styles of
Yeah,
parks,
yeah,
right? They're
yeah,
almost
yeah.
it's almost like you wouldn't even want to say they're the same business. It's that different. But you can play it a few different ways. I think one is you can play the affordable housing style play, and then or you can go resort style. I think that right now that the good thing is even if you go resort style and we could hit a economic downturn and we can debate right now we might be in one right now or not, but if we hit a real big economic downturn, you can turn your resort style into affordable housing, just make them long term post. So there's flexibility in that standpoint.
Yeah.
I like the target audience is getting younger. I like that as more people are going to be able to travel with AI, um, and work remote. So I like that asset class. That there's some. I want to assume that there's some staying power there. I like that there's what I said in the beginning. If I
Power.
want to staying power, like future. If we go future
Oh, got
outlook, like we're looking the next 10 years, I don't think it's. I hope, and I don't think it seems like it's going to go anywhere. Where you could debate with me on gas stations. You can sit there and say EVs might come in and replace everything, and I can't sell gas, and we can go back and forth on that debate. I think that debate is less in RV parks. Um, but so I like the outlook. I like that you can find one that's operationally less headache and operationally more headache. And here's the biggest one: a lot of them are still mom and pop. A lot of them are still mom and pop, meaning you can do creative structures more so in this industry than other industries. Gas stations, you creative structures of doing seller financing and doing this, it's less so, at least in my market in California, because real estate here is so expensive and there's a lot of transactions happening. So a lot of them have SBA loans and all that. You can't really do much seller finance on those. But from the what I have observed, just my personal observations, lot more mom and pop and RV park spaces, a lot more paid off properties where you can. It's so much easier to have those conversations of doing
yeah,
creative structures.
yeah,
So that's what I personally like about them. What's different with the underwriting? RV parks have multiple businesses on one property. So you could be buying a laundromat, a gas station, convenience store, and an RV park all at one property.
yeah.
You can be buying
Makes
one
sense.
with a marina. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's a little bit different on the underwriting, is having to kind of break apart, maybe segment a few, the okay, well, this is the revenues on this specific thing and the expenses here. Because if you see an RV park that does 1 million in sales but 700,000 came from gas, you're buying more of a gas station than you're buying an RV park, right? So it's just I
yeah,
think breaking that part down.
yeah. That's valid. So the advice for new operators and buyers that you have for someone looking, to buy their first business,
Mhm.
what mindset shift, in your opinion, matters the most? Where do people take shortcuts that later cost them? What skills they should aspire to focus on developing early.
I think the number one, and I always say this, you have to be a problem solver. Every single day, every single hour, you are making a decision. There is a problem that your employee says there is something that went wrong. You're from the acquisition to post acquisition is you have to be a problem solver. Your brain has to be active. You're going to make decisions, and you don't even know if they're the right decision, but you have to make a decision right away. I think if you don't have that skill, don't do it. And I mean it, and and it's not a bad thing to not be a business owner. It's not meant for everybody, but
Yes,
if
thank
you
you.
cannot be if you can't be a problem solver, you're better off having somebody else be that problem solver. That's your manager, that's your boss. And I'm not saying that in a demeaning way. I'm saying it's totally fine. Maybe you just have to be a number two in line and not the number one. But problem solver. You can be a big. It doesn't matter what industry you get into. Like if you can solve the problems, and if you can solve more of them correct than wrong, because we're always gonna solve some of them wrong, but you can solve more correct than wrong, like you'll be fine. I think problem solving is a big one. Um, Myth and all that, I don't really know. I think that I'm a little conflicted on this one. I would actually love to hear your opinion. I'm not really big on saying business is passive. Like absentee,
What? I'm sorry.
passive, like business ownership,
Mm-hmm.
business is passive, like a passive investment. I'm not really big on that. I
Mm-hmm.
think you can hire operators and stuff and it can help you, but especially if you're beginning out and you're
Mm-hmm.
new,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as passive as you're going to make it out to seem. I think it's you really got to get your hands dirty and learn and then eventually delegate out. Um, but I think if you're, I get a little scared when I hear somebody saying, "I'm gonna buy this
Yeah.
business and I'm gonna go sit on the beach and it's
Yeah.
gonna run itself."
Yeah. You know why? You get
Hmm.
scared? Rightfully so, because you asked for my opinion, so I'm going to give it to you.
Yes, yes,
The
please.
reason is because it's like you make a recipe of a cake, right? Like you have the right portions and quantities of set ingredients, and if you're off by the quantities or you're missing one ingredient, the cake's going to go bad, right?
Yeah.
What am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you that you can be passive if you're new, as long as you do it properly by bringing a strong operator that has a track record, and and also learn from them, okay, how to operate this properly, because you at the end of the day can at some point lose them, not because they're going to skip on you because they can get hit by a bus tomorrow, but
Mm-hmm.
when you learn from them what to do, right, then you also can manage the next one, because
Mm-hmm.
you cannot manage something you don't understand. You need to learn something from the ground up
Yeah.
in order to manage it properly, because you don't know what you don't know, right? You know
Yeah.
you don't know a lot, but you don't know what you don't know. So if you would do something like that, which, like you said, is highly risky because people just don't do it right, then you can pull it off, and you can do it in the form of a JV. Like I can come to you, for example, and tell you, listen, I have no experience in, let's say, RV parks, okay? And if you're a solid operator, how about I'll give you equity, which is I'm almost done with my answer. And at that point, what am I doing? First of all, first and foremost, I'm getting you to commit to stay because now you own it. Second of all, I'm tying your paycheck with the performance of that park. So I'm incentivizing you to make it perform. So in
Yeah.
my opinion, because you asked for it, that's the way to do that.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I can't agree with you more. I think bringing in equity partners is huge. Bringing in people on your team is huge. Like whatever that JV looks like, bringing people in that really know their stuff is huge.
Yeah,
And then you figure out your roles between your team and whatever. I think that
yeah,
is
yeah,
massive.
yeah. And
Um,
equity is not just money, right? It's also sweat equity, like an
100.
operator, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
what people don't understand. People just want to keep as much money to themselves. Bro, if you're making $500,000 by yourself and you get a strong operator that's going to make you, 1.2 million or 1 million, because they know what to look for and what's the weak spots, you know what I'm saying? Then it's a big difference. If you can value add something with someone with knowledge and you're making 3 times than what you're making now, even if you give them 20%, 30%, you're still going to make more than you would without
The
them.
math is easy at that point. Yep.
But people aren't. The
Hmm.
hardest part of any business, tell me I'm wrong, is people.
Oh, 100%.
Not, okay, no disrespect. You can teach a monkey how to pump gas station. Forget about gas stations. Any business is not complicated. Construction, burgers, like flipping burgers, like whatever, like the work itself is not hard. You can teach anybody to do it. But the people, to
Hmm.
find the good people, right? That's the hard part. I'm really enjoying this
Always.
conversation, but we're running out of time. So I'm going to do some rapid fire real quick.
Let's do it.
First thing coming to your mind, just shoot it out. No need for filters. So one underwriting matrix that people overlook:
NOI.
business versus real estate. Which is harder to evaluate?
Business.
Best lesson from growing up in a family of operators.
Work ethic. Knowing how much you have to work.
One piece of advice for first-time buyers:
It's worth it.
it's worth it.
It's worth
Okay.
it.
What excites you most about the next 12 months?
Continuing networking with smart people like you.
Okay, so closing. Where's the best place for people to connect with you, that you would like to put your name out there, to our audience?
Sure. It's Instagram. Instagram at Jasdev Kailey. So my full first name at Jasdev Kailey. That is where I'm the most active. I'm actively on my DMs, putting out underwriting tips and all that. So Instagram's my favorite platform.
Ideally, who should reach out to you specifically?
Anybody that wants to know more about the number side on business, acquiring businesses.
Any project or message you want listeners to leave, you want to leave with our listeners?
Sure. I'm actually working on I just recently put this together like a week or two ago. I'm doing an RV park underwriting workshop. So it's going to be an online 3-hour Zoom class. It's specifically for RV parks, and then my future workshops will probably be on other industries. But I want to really dial in what spreadsheets I use, how the whole garbage in, garbage out concept, like what, when you work with a lot of mom and pops, like how do you assess reliability of financial statements? So I'm doing a workshop. There's more information on my Instagram. There's links and everything on there too as well. So I'm doing that in March. It'll be after Squad Up. But it's an online
Amazing.
3-hour workshop. It'll be
That's
just on
amazing.
underwriting.
Wow. I bet people can learn so much from you with all your not just experience but also background that you came from. And I want to add to that, your website is your full name, right?
Mhm.
J Kylie, am I messing this
Kaylee.
up? .com.
Kaylee.
Kaylee, I'm
Yep.
sorry. Your name?
Jasdev Kailey.
Yeah. .com. And I want to thank you for coming here. I had too much fun, with you.
No, I appreciate you for inviting me over. This was really great. This was really fun.
Yeah, 100%. We touched on two of my most favorite topics in the world, other than my family, which is real estate and business.
Love it.
Yeah, it was really, really good. We're going to ask you to